Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday night. We don't typically do a lot of live streams. Well, it's just been a little while since we've done one, so happy to jump on here on YouTube and Facebook. My guest tonight from the New England Free Jacks, USA Rugby, Jenny Kronish. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, no, really excited to have you on. We haven't had anybody really from the Free Jack. We've had people from the Jacks Rangers show on, but no one from the actual organization. So really excited about this.
Yeah, no, it's exciting for me on a personal level, and then also with our big victory. It's exciting to share with everybody.
Oh, absolutely. It was amazing to see, and we're going to talk about that. But let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I'm from New York, New York. Grew up in Manhattan, right in the city, in
Oh,
an apartment
wow.
building, which yeah, a lot of people find really crazy. But now I just actually bought a house, so that's why this is behind me picking paint colors. So apologies that I look like I'm in a construction zone a little bit because I am. But yeah,
Now,
born and raised in New York City.
awesome. Now, I got to ask this. I'm a fan of New England sports. We do have a rival that we've all hated in this area for very long. Are you a Yankees fan, Mets fan, or?
So I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm actually a
Okay.
San Francisco Giants fan, but I'd
Okay.
say I'm also a new Red Sox fan as well, but not a Yankees fan.
Okay. We can continue the show then. That's all.
Right.
No, I just asked. Now, what are three things that everybody should know about you?
Um, Number one, come from a huge sports family, which again, a lot of people find surprising since I'm born and raised in Manhattan. But both my parents are athletes. My mom has run 2 marathons. My dad played football and baseball and ice hockey in college. And my younger sister played ice hockey at the University of Wisconsin, and she's actually going abroad to play professional hockey in Sweden in a week.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
so big athletes in the Kronish family. The second thing people should know about me, I love comedy. I did stand up comedy in college, and I want to get back to doing that. I love performing and being silly. And the third thing people should know about me is even though I'm 6'2", I don't play basketball.
Nice. I was reading your bio though on the USA Rugby page. You played some softball?
Yeah, I played softball and soccer in high school.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you're ever in this area, we always need players. So if you're ever trying to
Okay.
get back into it, I have to ask one question about the stand-up comedy thing because we had a little situation on the show a little ways back. Nick, who runs the studio, is a stand-up comedian, or I don't want to say was because this is what he got mad about. We introduced him to the show, and I said former comedian, and it did not go over well. Are you similar like that? Like you're always a comedian, whether you're active or not, or
I mean, yeah, I think I would agree with him. Saying someone is a former comedian makes it seem like something happened and they're no longer funny.
that's what he said.
Yeah. So I'd say if you had the guts to stand up and tell some jokes in front of people, you can forever call yourself comedian. Varying levels, of course, but I think that's okay.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I actually know someone else comedian, and I got a text message during that show like you shouldn't have gone there. I was like, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. Um, how was that though? Like, is because the way Nick is presented is pretty cutthroat. Stand-up comedy.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I was lucky enough that in college I was in a pretty supportive group. I mean, everything was very encouraging, and people wanted to, it was very like a round table where people shared jokes, and all of the open mics that we went to and events that we held were all very kind, maybe sometimes even too kind. But it's really scary. Probably one of the scariest things I've done would definitely rather square up against someone 3 times my size on a rugby pitch than go up and tell some jokes in a room of people that don't laugh. That is that is awful. That is a character builder for sure. So it is certainly cutthroat. It's very vulnerable.
No, no, I have a lot of respect for that. That's super cool. Now, stick with the theme of the show, which is let freedom ring, and this is the money question that we ask everybody because this means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What does it mean to you to be an American?
Yeah, so that's a loaded question in a lot of ways, and I'm glad you shared that you were going to ask me that question beforehand because I really have spent quite a bit of time thinking about it, and I think the best way I can describe it in a succinct answer is in two parts. One is opportunity. Um, I, as I mentioned, I'm from New York City. My ancestors came from Eastern Europe, and the stories that my grandparents tell about, their grandparents coming to America um, are unbelievable. My grandmother's grandfather came to America on a stolen passport. Um, and I think this sentiment is shared amongst a lot of Americans that it's a place to come to, strive for a better life. And for me, that opportunity personally, I'm lucky enough to have been born here, but personally, what that means is opportunity to have an education, opportunity to live where I want, love who I want, even though now that's, unfortunately under threat a little bit. Um, but education, work, and that leads into then having the opportunity to represent the national team has been, um, the opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm so proud for that. And then the second part that comes with that opportunity is the responsibility to use a lot of our rights we have as Americans to try and lift up and speak for those who can't. So whether that's human rights, civil rights, gay rights, religious rights, whatever it is, in America we're very, very fortunate to have the ability that a lot of countries don't have to talk about what we want, vote how we want, say what we want freely. And I think that's something that makes America very, very special. And I've been privileged enough to travel around the world a bit because of rugby. And that is something that uh, doesn't go unnoticed, that in America, people are, are very lucky to be able to live the way that we do. So the opportunity to do what you want, and then the responsibility to try and push that forward for those that don't have that opportunity.
I think that's a perfect answer. I like that a lot, and we get a lot of different ones, and we're that's one thing that we always talk about on the show is like we're not perfect. We're always striving to get better, and I think doing the right thing, standing up for the right thing is really important too. So, no, really like that answer. I appreciate that. Now I want to get into your rugby career because you have a very interesting one, very successful one. How did you start playing rugby?
So I started playing rugby in college, which is kind of right around the sweet spot of most Americans, as I found. I initially went to college and played soccer my freshman year. Didn't know much about rugby, had some friends at other schools, a couple of South African friends actually who played rugby. After my freshman year, due to a couple of reasons, one being I'd played soccer since I was 3 years old and was just totally burnt out. I quit and knew that I wanted another sport, and I was actually deciding between trying out for rugby or softball. And I chose rugby. A few friends at other schools convinced me that I should give it a go. One of my friends of my sorority, also people are surprised to hear that I was part of a sorority, but actually the president of my sorority was on the rugby team. And she reached out to the coach on my behalf. And going into sophomore year, I ditched the beep test that I had to do for soccer and started lifting more weights and walked into a rugby intro session. Thought the girls were super cool. One of the coaches looked like Wreck-It Ralph. He was like the biggest man I'd ever seen. And no, it was awesome. I walked onto the field, and the coach said, "You're second row." And I said, "I don't know what that means, but I'm ready to go." So yeah, that's how it started. And really, it sounds cliche, but kind of instantly fell in love with it, fell in love with the culture. At least soccer, which had been my main sport, I had been a goalkeeper. So it was very individualized. And coming on to playing rugby, which was immediately everything you do affects everyone, everything everyone else does affects you. I love that. I love that it took a total 15, 23, however big your squad was to win a game. Loved it.
Awesome. Do you think like your soccer background helped in rugby at all?
Definitely. Um, I think the skills being a goalkeeper, it's obviously having good hands, which translates, and then also being one of the bigger players. At least I'd like to think that my lateral movement skills are maybe above average for someone of my height.
Yeah, awesome. I like because when I first started playing at Plymouth State, it was kind of like I was a wrestler, and that's why they liked me. But it was mostly like people that played soccer, people played football, and things like that. But it's like no one. It's very rare that you meet anybody in college that played. Like we had a few players that played since they were 5. That's just so rare in the United States.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now that I've been lucky enough to go play in England and meet some girls who come from total rugby families and kind of grew up with a rugby ball in their hand, it's so jealous, so jealous. Even if I had started playing in middle school, high school, which is in pockets of the U.S., oh my god, it's the dream. It's amazing.
And I gotta ask, so how was your college experience?
It was great. Everything from the rugby introduction on field to introduction of the rugby social life, rugby culture. It was fantastic. I was really lucky to be in a group and a team of um, girls who worked really, really hard on the pitch, really cared for one another, uh, studied hard as well. Like there wasn't that kind of jock, we don't do school mentality, which I also really appreciated. Um, and it was awesome. We worked hard and we partied hard, and the legacy of the team as well was really cool. So being able to play for a team that was one of the first women's teams in the country was very special.
No, and was I reading right? You went to Harvard? Is that?
Mhm.
Oh wow, okay. That's very impressive. um, no, and how far? Like, what was the team like? In as far as was it? Were you guys one of the stronger teams in your division, or?
Yeah, definitely. So when I joined the team, we had been varsity for I think 3 years. Some of the girls ahead of me had been a part of the team that transitioned from when it was club rugby to then varsity. Um,
Okay.
and so I was part of a varsity program, which kind of naturally meant we got more funding and more attention from the athletic department. So like we had our own field, we had our own locker room, training staff, which was incredible. Something that is lacking now a little bit in some club rugby aspects. And no, the competition was incredible. We had world class coaching. The team was a really cool mix of girls that were recruited athletes and then walk ons like myself who were just great athletes and just absolutely chomping at the bit to learn as much as they could. Um, so we were right up there. My senior year, we lost in the national final. But to play in an arena like that was unbelievable. I won't say who we lost to, but it was our biggest rival.
Oh,
Um,
I was actually going to ask about rivalries because
oh yeah, the
that's
biggest rivalry is Harvard Dartmouth for sure. They no
okay.
matter how hard each of us try, I feel like that matchup happens at least twice a season, for sure in the regular season, and then somehow they end up meeting up in postseason. But it's a fierce but well respected rivalry, both from the top end coaches all the way down to the players. It's fun. It's fun to play even against people that you hate playing against. So it's good.
Well, and that's a big part of rugby culture. I've even noticed with the Free Jacks, they get together with the other team, still after the games, even at a pro level. So it's good to see that. Is that kind of how it was there too?
Oh, definitely. Which as I mentioned, that was a huge culture shock in a good way coming from soccer to rugby. Soccer, at least in my experience, was like a little more cutthroat, maybe a little more catty, and then ironically, you come to rugby where you're beating the crap out of each other on the field, and then I imagine it must be similar to like boxing someone, where at the end you're just so exhausted and so happy that you both made it out alive, and so you're like, all right, we did it. Let me shake your hand, have a drink together, whatever it is, because you know how hard it is to do. So that comes with a natural respect for your opponent.
Awesome. Now I got to ask this. So you played at Harvard, but you end up playing for USA Rugby. Which how does that happen? That's a really big deal because I mean that's about as the highest you can go in the United States, and now I know we're starting to get pro leagues and stuff like that. But how did you end up playing for USA Rugby?
Yeah. So blanket statement, playing in Harvard's program kind of immediately gave me a big leg up. It was one of the few programs in the country that was Division I varsity. So just the support all around that was hugely helpful. We kind of always had eyes on us, which, a lot of programs in the U.S. kind of popping up at different skill levels, different funding. The support varies. But playing at Harvard, I remember one preseason, I think it was my junior year preseason, the head coach of the national team was doing a tour of all the universities. And he came to Harvard and watched a couple trainings and watched a match. And he came up to me after one training and he just asked me, "How tall are you?" And I said, 6'2". And he said, "How old are you?" And I said, 19 or 20, however old I was at the time. And he's like, "Okay." And that was it. And I had known that was the coach, and that was like the craziest interaction ever. Um, and that next year, I was invited to my first age grade USA camp. It was a collegiate All Americans camp. And I was totally quaking in my boots. A lot of the girls there had been involved in the pathway for a long time, but I was there with a few of my Harvard teammates, so that was really comforting. And it was just really eye-opening getting to play with girls from all over the country who had either been playing rugby a longer time or just playing in different conferences that we didn't play at Harvard. The skill level was amazing, and it really opened my eyes to well, one, how far I needed to grow to play at this level, but also that it was attainable. It was a real goal that I guess I didn't know could be realized before going to the camp. And so I came out of that going to my senior year kind of with this hunger that rugby was really something I wanted to pursue, something I wanted to excel at, and went through my senior year and kind of through that got a few more looks. And then in the spring of my senior year was invited to my first senior team camp. Unfortunately, I broke my nose the week before, so I was at camp but couldn't do anything. Naturally, that's just the way it goes.
Right.
But I was there. Again, huge learning experience. Amazing to be able to train and learn with some of the players that I looked up to. Still amazing now. But being 21 years old, that was pretty awesome. And somehow I just stuck around. I'm definitely not easy to miss. So someone isn't really checking up. And I just kept being invited and working really hard. And post college moved out to Denver to play with the Glendale Merlins, which at the time was kind of the top program in women's club. Played there, and luckily my family was super supportive of me chasing this rugby dream, and kept getting invited. Definitely wouldn't be able to do it without them. Kept getting invited, and then really kind of the peak so far of my rugby career was making the World Cup team, and getting to go to New Zealand this past fall. So a lot of years, a lot of grinding, a ton of support from friends, family, and teammates, and had the privilege to represent my country and all the people that helped me get there.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. And I want to talk about that. I have one just question just about like the recruiting aspect of it. And I feel like it's like this in a lot of sports. How do you feel they do with that? Like, do you think there are some players out there that could play at the level that are just missed by
Oh
any
yeah,
chance?
absolutely, no question. Especially because rugby players are so often in the U.S. transfer athletes from other sports. I mean, you look at the 15s team. Myself, I played soccer. Alicia Washington ran track. Kate Zachary played soccer. So many of the top athletes come from other sports, and in sevens as well. Nye Tapper ran track. Cheta Emba was a soccer goalie at Harvard, like myself. So that track record is pretty good. But no question. I think it's a mix of rugby not yet reaching its full potential in this country, and then just not having enough programs in the country, where a lot of kids from grassroots up can see it as a viable sport and as a viable option. I won't say career specifically because it's not yet a career, but an option of something that's real and something that can be pursued.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, honestly, I think the sport has grown a lot because I remember, I was in college a lot longer ago, but I remember we always said, wouldn't it be cool if there was a pro league in the United States? And I honestly, back in like 2005, never thought that would actually be a thing, and now it is. So it's like it feels like it's continuing to grow, and we might start to see, you know, us get better, better on a world stage. Um, but I do want to ask, how was the Rugby World Cup experience? How did everything go there? Just what's that like? I mean, representing your country, that's just amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Amazing doesn't cut it. The whole experience was just insane. I mean, I'm a big crier. I'm a big emotional mush, and I feel like I've had to have tissues in my pockets at all times. It was the whole experience was amazing. I mean, just being at the airport, like getting ready to go, you're just overcome by such a wave of emotion because it's, you know, this all comes back to the culture of rugby, which is like nothing do you do alone. And so even just at the airport, realizing that everything you've been working towards and everything you felt so supported in pushing for is kind of like finally coming to fruition. And then getting there, like the opening ceremony, we were in this big arena, and New Zealand and World Rugby put on this incredible presentation that honored the culture of New Zealand, where the World Cup was taking place, and then called up all the different international teams' captains to be recognized. And I just remember sitting in that room, looking around, and being like, no words, just like amongst all of these people you look up to. And I mean, this is all before the actual rugby starts. So in these moments, you're kind of allowed to like either like fangirl or be on cloud nine a little bit more. And then the rugby starts, and it's kind of down to business. But there were certain moments, and I think our team and our leadership, coaching staff, did a really good job of encouraging us to kind of stop and smell the roses once in a while, and just appreciate how amazing the situation was that we were in. So like a couple moments, I mentioned that opening ceremony, certainly hearing the national anthem in our first game against Italy, that was like just sobbing. That was just insane. Really special, getting texts and letters from friends and family all over the world that they were watching was just incredible. Really just an unbelievable experience. That I don't even know, it's almost been a year and I still don't think I've gotten to properly kind of reflect on it, because it was just such a whirlwind, and it's just amazing. It was just awesome.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. How is it? Do they do? I mean, we call them drink ups or whatever. Is that going on? I don't know if that's happening at the World Cup. Is that go on at
No,
all?
so that's
Okay.
that definitely isn't happening
Yeah.
in the same way it is like at club rugby.
Yeah.
But that's not to say once we were no longer participating in the on-field rugby, we certainly allowed ourselves to have a good time with the other teams that were no longer in the competition.
Was there any teams that stuck out? Was like, oh, they're fun to hang out with, or?
Australia, ton of fun, great group. Japan as well. Playing Japan was so cool. That was the first team I'd ever played. Well, Japan and Italy were the first two teams I'd ever played that didn't speak English as their first language. So that was pretty crazy. And I guess just amplified even more that it's international rugby. But yeah, let's think. We also, our big rivalry is against Canada, so
Oh
they're all
yeah.
very nice and pleasant, but we just can't really be friends. We just can't.
I gotta ask, is there gonna be more of those games at Fort Quincy, as far as Canada versus USA women's rugby?
I
Or
hope
is,
so. I think when we just had border battle, yeah, that was the first time the Free Jacks were able to host an international match with the U23 girls, And it was great. It was a huge success. I think both parties loved it. And so, yeah, we would love to. I mean, I would certainly love to. I mean, that's my backyard. So that would be awesome. I think Veterans is a great spot to host international matches.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And like you said, we want to beat Canada, right? So, I gotta ask this. I'm assuming the World Cup is probably like got to be the number one moment or one of them at least. What are some of your favorite moments playing the game? Whether being on field stuff, friends you've made, anything that's just really stuck out to you.
Yeah, World Cup is certainly up there. Um, Another memory that comes to mind was my senior year of college. Dartmouth, the big rival, we met them during the regular season and we lost, got spanked actually pretty bad. And then we met them again in the Ivy League final a month or so later. And I really can just I can try and paint the scene, but it was like the most disgusting, awful New Hampshire weather. It was the beginning or middle of November, and it was just like spitting rain, kind of hailing, kind of snowing. It was just gross. It was up at Dartmouth, and they have a gorgeous, gorgeous field there, but it's grass. And so it was just like a mud pit, and it was freezing, and there was smoke coming off of everyone's heads. It was just awful. And we were winning, and there was about maybe 4 or so minutes left in the game, and I think we were up by 2 tries, and we were going into a scrum, and I would go down to kneel, and I look over to my friend Jen, who was flanking, and we both kind of look at each other and go, we're going to win. We're going to win. And that just sticks in my mind. And then we won, and obviously just erupted into celebration because it's such a rivalry and it was so awesome. But that was an amazing memory. Not the winning was great, but that one, like, just person-to-person connection was so cool and just total, like, elation. It was awesome.
Nice, nice. And I want to ask, so what are your future plans in the sport? Are you going to continue to play internationally? Are you going to continue playing, or?
Definitely going to continue playing. I'm not, at least this next season, I'm not going back to England to play. Was super awesome experience playing there the past 2 seasons, but kind of wanted to shake things up. I'd been looking to buy a house for a while in Massachusetts. So I decided I won't be going back to play with Harlequins. Came here, and able to do more with the Free Jacks too, which I've been really meaning to do. I'd been kind of part-time while I was remote, which they were super, super kind to allow me to do. So now I'm back full-time with the Free Jacks. Just bought a house in Hyde Park. And if any of the viewers want to comment on paint colors, and here, and I'll be playing with Beantown, and still working hard for the national team.
Awesome, awesome. And so, okay, so the next World Cup would be what? 2026?
2025. So the last
2025. Okay.
2021, but because of COVID,
Okay.
2022.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's throwing everything off quite
Yeah.
a bit. We did have so I do want to get to fan questions. We had one prior, but we had one come in while we've been on the air from Pat Conley, who's a former guest of the show. I've never really followed the game of rugby. I've always knew it was a very popular sport in Eastern Europe. I see it more and more here as like pickleball, which I guess is, yeah, we've done a pickleball episode. Do you feel rugby as a whole is becoming one of those sports that are taking off in the U.S. and that we may see it, including going into high school sports curriculum?
Definitely, great question. It is certainly growing in the U.S. Particularly at the university level. It's currently the number one growing women's sport at university. Huge potential in the U.S. It's already being put into more high schools, middle schools in the country. Actually, contrary to popular belief, it is actually safer to play than football. There's no false sense of security because there's no pads. Some people think that's insane, but without wearing a helmet, you're probably not going to go and spear someone with your brain. So it's actually safer. Yeah, it's taking off. Americans should know about it because they would love it. It's super fast paced, no breaks, full contact, both men and women, same rules, which is also unique. It's picking up. The culture is like could so be related to exactly what Americans love. It's all about camaraderie, friendship, working hard, having a beer. It really has all the ingredients for something that America would love. So part of my job working at the Free Jacks is pushing that message out to people like who are watching this, people who are asking those questions. It's absolutely taking off. The runway is a little long, but as you mentioned earlier, the success in Major League Rugby has been huge, and hopefully it will only continue to grow.
Yeah, and I gotta say to people out there, I mean, if you can tell by this the crowd sizes that continue to grow at the Free Jacks, but if you want to take in a game or you want to learn more, there's all types of stuff going on in the New England area. Um, I know there's a lot of club stuff going on in Massachusetts. Well, we have Amoskeag in New Hampshire. Um, but yeah, and I think a lot of those games are free, right? If you want to
Yeah,
go watch the
yeah. I
clubs
mean,
play.
club games, I'd say the majority are probably free. There's actually a complete list of all the clubs in New England on the Free Jacks website. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if even some small random towns had rugby clubs. It's a great way to get to meet new people, stay fit, even if you're not trying to run around and smash some people. There's a ton of social clubs. It's just it's growing, and at every level from grassroots up to old boys and old girls rugby, it's growing. So spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to agree with your point about it being like it is safer than football. You're all, if you're a wide receiver, you're set up, you're not seeing anything coming. In rugby, you're running right onto it all the time. Um, so I mean, I think the sport can grow. You just got to get eyes on it. Phil says that all the time. You get eyes on it and the people will come,
Totally,
you know.
totally. And I think not to keep pubbing the Free Jacks, but I will because it's my job. Um, the festivals that we put on are certainly organized to bring in people that are not aware of how awesome rugby is. So we have a ton of other offerings, whether that's food, drink, music, just to get people in the door. Because as you said, it's people have to get eyes on it, and they just don't know it exists, and they don't know how fantastic it is. So getting eyeballs on it.
And the Free Jacks did an excellent job with that this year. And I have to say, the bands they brought in, I was shocked. There was a couple times I didn't know who they were until they started playing their songs. And I said, "Wait, that's the real band that sings that, not a cover band." And then I was like really getting into the concerts after the game.
Oh yeah,
So,
and wait till we release next year's. It's gonna knock your socks off.
oh, I can't wait. And Pat says, "Thank you. Best of luck in the future." And Wayne Green shutters for the house.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And we had a shout out earlier from Kendall Payne Glover, the Faction Cast podcast. It's like a pro wrestling podcast, but he actually had some questions. Um, he said excitement for the upcoming Free Jack season, and how can you build as a content creator? Now, he's a podcaster. He's trying to grow his podcast and things. So he had questions kind of like, how do you grow as a content creator?
Yeah. So the first part, am I excited for Free Jacks next season? Yeah, it's gonna be out of control. I think I'm always kind of teetering the line between employee and fan. Um, and so I feel super lucky to be able to kind of have a sneak peek to some of our plans before they go live. On the rugby side, obviously we're coming off of a huge victory, still repping the championship swag. So that's really exciting. The MLR draft is tonight, so hopefully we'll be picking up a couple exciting prospects and just keep the train rolling of being, the best team in the league. So that's pretty awesome. From the event side, we are locked and loaded. We have a ton of really exciting, fun themes, fun festival themes for next season. This weekend, actually, we're hosting our big music festival in between days with headliners Lord Huron and Modest Mouse. So we got a ton of awesome stuff. Quick pub for in between days. If you haven't bought tickets, they're still available, but they're going quick. That's going to be awesome this weekend. 2-day festival, Modest Mouse and Lord Huron
Oh
headlining.
wow.
Um, but no, we keep growing. The fans keep growing, keep getting more excited. I just saw today on the official fan supporters group that they're making an official group with a
Oh yeah.
whole leadership. So that's super cool. We love our dedicated fans. Um, and, as we keep alluding to, the league is growing and we're kind of, sitting pretty as champions, but we want to be the first to grow and to build and just keep pushing the league into better and bigger places.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I've said this on Phil's show. I've said it on my show too. If you get there, you're gonna fall in love with it. I have not brought I've brought people that don't know anything about rugby to game. I brought a lot of different people to games, and every time they're like, I can't wait to come back to this. And I really do think this could be, an upcoming league, but for the Free Jacks, like perfect look, perfect name for New England. Like it doesn't get any better than that, honestly. I can't say enough good things and how much I love the Free Jacks.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good to hear. I mean, I think you're thinking about it exactly the right way. It's up and coming, but you have to think this is now the time to get in. I mean, the Patriots have a 20-year wait list to get season tickets. You can buy season tickets today to the Free Jacks, and then in 10 years, you get to be one of the founding members who was a part of this franchise before it was playing at Gillette, was playing, whatever the league is destined to become. Jump in now because the train's moving quick.
Absolutely. And I mean, people don't understand, like the NFL has been around since, what, the 50s or yeah, because I think the Patriots started in 1960. So, I mean, that's a giant head start, and people don't realize it wasn't always like that. You know what I
No,
mean?
I mean
So,
everything starts somewhere. From our inception in 2018, like the league MLR barely existed, and now we're getting thousands of people to come to our matches, and the MLR championship was on Fox. Like it totally happens quick, and I think the sport's really going to just exponentially grow with the World Cup, the Men's World Cup this fall. We're going to be hosting a ton of watch parties for that at bigger bars in Boston and all around New England. So, as we keep saying, just get more eyes on it, because people are going to love it.
absolutely. And just the second part of that question was just how does one build as a content creator?
Yeah, that's a good question. I certainly wouldn't. Yes, I'm a content creator, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't call myself, TikTok famous or Instagram
Yeah.
famous or anything like that. That being said, I I make content that I enjoy making and that I think is funny or witty or something I would like to look at and I would like to follow. If you've checked out the Free Jacks Instagram, I've embarrassed myself so much and just made myself making videos. So how to be a better content creator? I don't know. I mean, this is a totally cliche answer, but if you enjoy what you're doing and you kind of find what you're good at and what you like, what kind of content you like making, then I guess it doesn't super matter if other people like it and how many likes and comments you get if you're happy with it. But I would just say like establish your brand, establish what you like making, and just do that.
I couldn't agree more. Like, and I think a lot of people that do a lot of the TikTok stuff, they're just doing stuff that entertains them. And some of them catch on and they get more eyes on them because maybe what they're doing is entertaining. But like, end of the day, like even with my show, it's like I do things that I like. And that's the whole point. And I think that's like the big part of you got to enjoy yourself to do these things. And if they're not enjoyable, they're not worth doing. you know?
Totally. I mean, no one's paying me to make silly videos in my backyard, so I just do it because I like it.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, I just have a few more just Free Jacks related questions. How did you get involved with them with the Free Jacks?
So the rugby circles in New England are fairly small, and I think in 2019, one of my friends who I just had known through rugby worked for the Free Jacks, and I had been a fan just because the rugby community and went to go support their matches. This was when they played in Weymouth. Um, Went to go support them and had always just been a fan, and maybe at a little bit of a deeper level than just an on-field fan. I always thought it was really cool what they were doing, trying to grow the game and build a community around the team and use their influence to essentially just spread rugby joy. And so at one game, I saw Alex Magleby, Mags, the CEO of the team. I went up to him, and I think he had just maybe gotten out of the Woodgie costume, so he was. I thought that was my time to strike. And I just kind of went up to him and, told him I loved what he was doing and loved the team. And I would like to be involved in some way in the future. And that if there was any opening anywhere, it's something that I would like to be a part of. Fast forward a couple months, there was a job opening for, it was like community engagement director, manager. I applied, I talked to Mags. He was really excited for me. He called me and he said, so you're looking for a new adventure, which is really exactly what this role has been. I got the job in January of, when was it? No, it was 2021. I got the job in January 2021. And then in March of 2021, I went to the UK to go play. So I can't thank the Free Jacks and Mags enough for allowing me to keep my job while I went abroad 2 months after I accepted. So I got the job. I just walked up to him and said, I loved what you were doing and wanted to be a part of it. And that was 2 years ago. And now I'm a marketing manager full-time for the first time. And I love it. It's again, being a fan and an employee, it's really cool to be working for something that you as yourself enjoy. My job is spreading rugby joy and just trying to grow the game and making sure people have a good time. So it's pretty awesome.
Nice. And did it help that you had the rugby background when you did speak to him?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly for the role I ended up initially applying to, which was essentially trying to bring rugby into more schools, after-school programming, YMCA type stuff. I started out by going to a bunch of those kind of activations with some of the players. So it was helpful. And then just from a kind of broader idea of just understanding and being within rugby culture is still, I use that a lot in my job today, just thinking about what rugby fans like, and then also what are some aspects of the sport of rugby that kind of essentially are sellable, are marketable, would be valuable to a consumer. What do people like?
Awesome. Now I got to ask, because this was a big moment. I didn't get to go to Chicago. I had to work that weekend. I got to watch the game, but what was it like? Now you've been working for the team. You said 2 years. Last year's season was, and I've said this in different places, losing in the Eastern Conference Finals to New York was devastating.
Yeah.
And anytime you get to a championship game, Eastern Conference Final or the championship, like, it's not easy. It doesn't matter what sport it is to get there. And they lost. So it was like, you got to go back to next year and you got to do it all over again. And this time they did, and they won the championship, which was amazing. What was that like, being in Chicago, being with the team, just the overall experience? Like, what's going through your mind? That game was probably the best game of the MLR season. Just unbelievable. What are you thinking during that?
Yeah, the game was insane. Easily the most competitive game I think the Free Jacks played all season, maybe all time, honestly. The environment was amazing. Huge shout out to the Chicago Hounds and Major League Rugby for just putting on a fantastic day. Shaq DJ'd, which was insane, like just on so many levels. That was ridiculous. And then, the stadium was awesome. The tailgate before, people were just so excited, so happy to be there. Free Free Jacks fans and San Diego fans. Everyone was like chatting in their various costumes and stuff. And then the game was insane. I certainly have some gray hairs from watching that. You know, all of the staff for the Free Jacks were sitting together, and like nobody could talk to each other during the game. It was like it was as if we were, you know, the coach or something. Like even the woman who does finance was like ripping her hair out. It was awesome, um, which speaks to how, you know, how much of a team culture the Free Jacks have, not just on pitch but off. And then winning was insane. Again, it was like we were on the team. Everyone ran down onto the field, jumped over the fence, and it was just insane. Like to win in the way that we did, after the season and after the prior season losing and not getting to the championship, it was crazy. It was insane. And then, you know, like getting the hat on the field, it was just so cool. It was so cool.
Yeah, and I felt like, and I've said this, and I don't know if this is just because I'm such a fan of the team. Did it feel like a lot of the rugby pages were all like San Diego all year? Like that was the team to win it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Free Jacks kind of thrived with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder from not making it to the final last year. Um, and then certainly San Diego has some big rugby names. Um, and then losing to San Diego in the regular season. So, I mean, talk about storybook ending. Like we couldn't have written a script better, than what ended up being played out on the field. It was just, yeah, it was great.
No, they absolutely, and I've said it before. They finished the story, right? You lose in the Eastern Conference Final this year, you win it, and then you win it all. Like unbelievable.
You
Um,
and then the Dropkick Murphys play a live set. Like it would have been not right if the New England team didn't win and the Dropkick Murphys then had to play Ship It Up to Boston. Like
well,
would have
that's where, yeah, and I think a lot of people are like, how did they get picked? Blah blah blah, and I'm like, well, there's a lot of Irish people in Chicago too, you know. So,
been right.
I gotta ask this: where do you see now? You were saying there's some big concerts possibly coming up this year. Where do you see the future of this team of the MLR going?
I think honestly, sky's the limit. Looking at, you know, obviously the NFL is like next level sports entertainment. But there's no reason why rugby couldn't be reaching for that. You look at where rugby is in other countries that have it successfully. I mean, Super Rugby in New Zealand and Australia, top 14 rugby in France, the Premier League in England. I mean, these are hugely attended sporting events playing in giant stadiums, that are huge deals. And really, like it's just so up the US's alley that there's I think the people who are in the rugby community, and particularly like for myself that also works for rugby, there's such an innate buzz around the possibilities of where rugby could go. Um, it's really exciting. Like it's just growing on every front, and we see that in the data year after year in ticket sales. So it's exciting. It's growing. I'd say looking in the next 5 years, we're going to look back to this year and like guffaw at 5,000 people a game.
Yeah, and it sounded like the owner said they're going to be probably expanding seating at Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, I mean the game is growing. Our fans want more, and we want more fans in the building.
Yeah, I absolutely can't wait for next season. Okay, I just want to go into the final segment of the show. One of my favorite segments. It's buy or sell. I'm going to give you something. You're going to tell me if you're buying it or you're selling it, and why.
Okay.
I got to ask this. We did talk about content creation. Are you buying or selling TikTok?
I am selling TikTok because a new platform has got to be right around the corner, and I don't want to end up buying what could be the next Vine.
No, fair enough. I haven't had anybody buy TikTok yet on the show. We had John Champ on the other day. I thought he was going to be the guy. and he said he's passing on it. So the streak continues on
Oh,
that.
well, if I knew that the market was selling, maybe I'd be buying.
Yeah. I gotta ask this. I have a Facebook friend, my buddy Dave. He's been on Facebook a lot. He can't give away a ticket, like free tickets to this country concert coming up. I think Morgan Waller. Are you buying or selling country music?
Country music, I'm buying because it's a good time, especially in the summer. The vibe is right. Um, Morgan Wallen, for whatever reason, has like become such a meme joke lately, but I do like that song. That's number one right now. So I'm buying.
Yeah, I don't. He's posted all week, and he can't give away these tickets. It's.
When's the concert? I'll buy them. I'll go.
I think it's Friday. I think. I don't know. I've just seen it on there. I've asked him about it, but um, are you buying or selling the host of the Jax Rangers show, Phil Harris?
Oh, I'm buying. I'm buying all day. Phil Harris is awesome.
Yeah, Phil has done such a wonderful job with that show, and I've given him a lot, and has me be a part of it as well. Um, it's just it's just awesome that there is a podcast for the team like that, and he has fans on, players, staff, uh, other fans of other teams. Like he's doing something really unique there, and it's fun to watch.
No, it's great. And I mean, like what yourself and Phil are doing, it's so awesome to get recognition. And again, like come 5, 10, 15 years, you guys are going to be the Fox News correspondents. You never know.
I can't wait for that for sure. Gotta ask, we brought them up. Are you buying or selling the Dropkick Murphys?
Buying. Buying. If we can have the Dropkick Murphys perform Shipping Up to Boston live every match for when the Free Jacks run out, that's a big
That would
that's a
be
big ticket item. I'm buying.
that would be something. That would definitely be something. I got to see them. They came to Plymouth State one year for spring fling, and that was an awesome show. Um, are you buying or selling socks with sandals?
Contentious, but I'm buying.
Okay.
I do rock that look sometimes. It's comfortable and it's practical. So there.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, are you do you now are you not really actually you're not would you say you're a Patriots fan or care about the team or anything in any way?
So yeah, I only because of the company that I keep now do I feel like I have to appreciate the Patriots or I would have no friends.
Okay. Would you are you buying or selling Mac Jones?
I'll I'll buy him with a return policy. I'm not
Okay.
convinced. I'm not convinced yet, but I think we will give him another chance.
Well, I have to say it. He didn't play in that preseason game we are all at the other day, but Malik Cunningham was the only entertaining part of the Patriots that whole night. So who knows if
Yeah.
we got an up and coming quarterback? We'll have to see. um, are you now this person? They have sold a lot of tickets this year to a lot of concerts, sellout shows. We're talking people have spent like $10,000 on tickets.
I already know what you're gonna say, and
And I biggest pop star in the world right now. Are you buying or selling Taylor Swift?
if if I could afford it, I would be buying. But instead, I bought a house.
No, fair enough. I have to say, I love Janet Jackson, and Taylor Swift was playing at Gillette Stadium the same night Janet was playing at the Xfinity Center, and I was like, "Oh my god!" No diss to Taylor Swift. I'm a Swiftie, but Janet definitely overrides that.
Yeah,
Um, but I was so afraid. I had to wait, and I watched the traffic just drop and drop. Then I just jumped in the car. And I was like,
yeah,
and I avoided the Taylor Swift traffic somehow. But
yeah.
man, there's
It's
a lot of people there.
madness. If we can try and channel some of what she's got going on, it's like it's madness. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember when she first came out, in country, she had what our song, and she was
Mhm.
country, and then she went to pop and just became. I think it's Kanye West,
Oh
giving her a
yeah,
hard time at
that's
the
it.
VMAs. Last one here. Should we buy or sell the 2024 season of the Free Jacks?
Buy it now before it's too late. You're gonna be missing out otherwise. Buy it now.
Awesome. I honestly cannot wait. Like it's weird because Phil has said he's not as big a football fan anymore. Once the MLR came around, and like now the MLR season, I'm like kind of wanting more. And now we're going to football, and I'm excited for it. But it's like now I have another team that I love like that. So
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's good that our seasons, both NFL and MLR, kind of split the year because nobody has to choose.
oh, that is like unbelievably perfect. Honestly, I love that. But anything else that you want to add, Jenny, or anything? Like you said, big season coming up and everything, and you will be playing rugby locally this year.
Yep, yep. I'll be playing for Beantown. No, nothing I want to add. I mean, I'll pub it again. I think whether you are an avid rugby fan or this is your first time hearing about it, come to a game, come check it out. It's a ton of fun. I personally guarantee you will have a good time. If you do not, you can come up and tell me I was wrong. But it's great. The environment's awesome. Kid friendly, ages 1 to 99, same as a Lego box. You will have a great time.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Get to Fort Quincy next year, Veteran Memorial Stadium. You will not regret it. It's a great time. But Jenny, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate that. Everybody, tomorrow we will have Dan Tanaka, wrestling referee, in studio. But until then, keep your heads up. Have a great rest of your night. Until next time, let freedom ring.